today on our official website at www.cloud.com, and we'll be willing to give you further assistance. Let's go straight into it. Okay, so we have CSS246. I'm taking private security. I believe you all can hear me. We are taking private security. It's raining heavily outside, so you might hear the sound in the background, the noise of the rain in the background. Okay. Now, in our last class, we talked about what it means by term security and how important it is both locally and internationally. Now, what we need to understand here is that security is not a one-man business. Okay, it's a business of everybody. Speaking of individuals, communities, governments, and international bodies. Speaking on the set tab, okay, speaking on the set tab, private security. When we are talking about private security, what do we mean in essence? We are simply talking about those self-employed individuals and privately funded businesses, all right, privately funded business entities and organizations that provides, okay, security related services. Privately funded business entities that provides what we call security related services. Okay, this is one thing we must note about the private security. Same security, but now, all right, although it depends on the capacity of investment, okay, that these organizations are willing to put into their business. But definitely the bottom line of this service is to also protect life and property. But they are basically funded by private individuals. Okay. Now, however, we can also take some other explanation from different authors. It is argued that the motive of these organizations, speaking of the private security agencies or organization, is for motive, for profit. Okay, the sources of profit are basic elements of private security, but it hardly seems acceptable as a general definition. Okay, it's an argument about the basic, all right, the basic element of private security organization. Basic elements is said to be they are out there for profit, but it seems, all right, but it is hardly seems acceptable as a general definition. That is very correct. So now we have the private security. According to Howe in 1998, Howe said that a board, he said it is a board grouping. According to Howe, Howe referred to private security as a what? Board grouping. Now it's an industry that operates only in a global market, organized along corporate, all right, along corporate lines and showing signs of growth rather than contractions. Now, what we need to understand is that scholars have been able to give their definitions, different scholars give their definition according to Owen, and here is another definition. But what we need to understand is that private security, as it says, private, right, a funded organization by an individual, not by the government. And they are out there to also provide protection against armed threats and both internal and external threats. So we have the types of private security. The private security sector is divided into two categories. We have the private military company, and we also have just a moment. The private military companies, otherwise sometimes referred to as private military firms, and basically it represents the contemporary form. It represents the contemporary form of private security. And we also have the second type of private security. We have the PSC, which represents private security companies. The first one is private military, all right, companies, or we have the private military firms. While the second is private security companies. Please let take note of that. Just a moment. Now let's continue. According to Small in 2006, PMC and PSC represent the contemporary form of private security. Represent the contemporary form of private security. Okay. Now, Share and Capirini in 2005 defined PSC as companies that specialize in providing security and protection of personal and property, including humanitarian and industrial assets. Okay, that's according to Shea and Capirini, defining PSC. Okay, as companies that specialize in providing security and protection of personal and right security and protection of personnel and property. Okay, of personnel and property, including humanitarian and industrial assets. Humanitarian and industrial. We said this before. There are dignitaries that can't go out there without securities. They don't take their securities. Industrial assets, all right? Talk about our refineries. Security are always there to guide them against attacks, both internally and externally. All right, talking about the pipes that crosses across, all right, several land in order to avoid vandalization of these properties or vandalization of these assets. Securities are usually there to protect them. So let's take a step further. Now, there's something called mercenaries. Okay, mercenaries is said to be another type of private security. Okay, a mercenary is a person who takes part. Are we together? Okay, a mercenary is a person who takes part. Okay, he takes part in armed conflicts or hostilities, essentially by the desire for private. Now, it's defined. One thing we understand that anyone who, not being national of the states against his action, are directed. Now, what I can say that a machinery is referred to as someone hired or employed towards to take part in an armed conflict. Okay, merci. Okay, it says here mercenaries. So let's go for plural form. Mercenaries. Anyone, a group of persons or individuals who takes part in an armed conflict, essentially by the desire for private. Hired, let's just put it this way, hired to take part in a conflict. Please, like I said earlier, like I usually say, everything we teach on this channel, they are basically for educational purpose. They are not to encourage violence or instigate violence. Informative and informative and educational purpose. That's why we do this content, and we have a which we follow for basically students. So we have that as that. Now let's take a step further. Okay, I think we're back now. Can we hear me? Okay, can we hear me? Awesome, awesome. So let's go back straight into it. Now we've been able to talk about who a mercenary is. So let's take a step further. Now we have what we call contract and proprietary services. All right, contract and proprietary services. Now, when we talk about contract, talk about contract and proprietary services, what are we talking about? Private security can also be divided into what we call contract and proprietary services. Private security, like I said, proprietary services operation are those that are in-house or controlled entity by the company establishing security for its operation. Let's say, for example, most states and federal government corporation operate private security services. Now, there is another type of private security called the hybrid system. Now, let's take it one step at a time. The in-house, otherwise known as the proprietary security operation, we are simply talking about security operations required by individuals for certain purposes, more like the in-house thing. Okay, are we together? Are we together? Now let's take a step further. Okay, now we also have the hybrid system. The hybrid system. This system is a combination of property management and contractual line services. Now, for hybrid program to be successful, according to uh, Fisher and Green, all parties to the contract must be willing to communicate openly with each other. Security, a good hybrid security operation consists of four components. Okay, so when we say hybrid, it's more like a combination of different services to make a whole. Okay, now a good hybrid security operation consists of four elements, and they are: one, incorporation. Okay, incorporation. Two, contract management support, CMC, contract management support. Third, periodic review. All right. Third, periodic review. And fourth, we have accurate quality measures. Accurate quality measures. Okay. So we have that and that. Now let's take a step further. We have the development of security in Nigeria. Permit me to raise the board so we can go through that. Now we have the development of private security in Nigeria. The involvement of private players in the management of security locally and internationally has been phenomenal, all right, has become phenomenal in recent time. Considering the historical development of private security companies in Nigeria, one will not agree that the presence and activities of private security guards laid the foundation for the emergence of private security companies in Nigeria. Now, we need to use this guard working individually or those commissioned by unregistered private security companies, all right, had been in existence prior to the nation's independence. Okay, now, the Nigerian Investment and Security Company, that is NISCO, all right, the Nigerian Investigation and Security Company, NISCO, happens to be the first private security outfit providing uniform guards in Nigeria. All right, and it began, all right, it came into being in 1960. All right, 1965, I mean. First private security outfit. Okay, first private security outfit in Nigeria. All right, providing uniform guards in Nigeria, and it came into existence in 1965. And since the all right, and since then, the number of existing private security firms has drastically increased. So we have the recruiting party. Okay, so that as we have that as that. So NISCO happens to be the first of its kind to start providing security, all right, uniform guard security, not just anyhow security, but uniform guard security. Okay. The expansion of private properties. Okay. The expansion of private property in Nigeria and Africa generally is the key factor in the growth of private security. The expansion of now the expansion of private property in Nigeria and Africa. Private property in Nigeria and Africa made it necessary, all right, in and Africa in general, made private security, all right, growth, all right, necessary. Okay, now there's something that happens, all right, during an election or before an election, or something that is usually, according to what we have in our material, something that is usually common with some politicians, the use and the recruitment of thugs to carry out their security, to be their security and And thugs definitely they will behave brutally. All right, and this is also one of the things that led to the necessity of security personnel in private security personnel in Nigeria. So we have that as that. So now let's take a step further. So we talked about the expansion of private properties, and okay, I think basically that's I think basically that is it. And speaking of the private security, okay, they use some gadgets to enhance their responsibility, their task. Speaking of the walkie-talkie, the radio, and the CCTV, all right, all these are technologies that they use to see to the fact that they carry out their job properly. Okay, now and ever since 1965, when NISCO introduced the first private security outfit. Ever since then, security has become a major part, okay, of Nigeria's economy, and it's estimated that there are currently between 1,005 and 2,000 private security companies in Nigeria at the moment, okay, with more than 100,000 on their payroll serving serving as guards, as according to Abraham's men and Williams in 2005. So we'll call it right here for today. As in our next class, we'll be taking it up from the reasons for growth of private securities. All right, private security sector. I mean to say. So thank you very much, everyone. I believe you've been able to gain something in today's class. So please let's also keep our notes up to date and send them to the appropriate. I look forward to see you all in subsequent tutorial. Do have a wonderful evening.